because I think it has to go well or it's going to be really bad. And I do think they have a lot of power here, especially they could even go double Comet here if they want. E-Star MF plus Q with Comet on Karma. You get the slowdown. It makes it very difficult to actually dodge that Karma poke. But we'll see how heavily they want to index into early laning.
I will say of all three drafts, this one is probably my least favorite from T1. The Akali, I'm going to trust Faker, right? He knows more than me about the mid-lane matchup.
Guy.
Yeah, and in terms of the matchup, in terms of what he sees, I'm going to default to trust here because there's no reason to question him. It's more like, when I look at the comp in its entirety, I don't see how this T1 comp functions without the enemy engaging onto them. And the thing is, while Nocturne is typically dive, you have Zoe, you have MF's ulti, you have Ornn's ult can be used as a ranged engaged as well. Like, there's actually a lot of distance that they can use, which I don't think T1 have many tools to close that gap outside of a good Lee Sin flank or a Gnar flank. So I am a little concerned with the options that T1 will have, and they're very reliant on G2 kind of coming into them and being the proactive team.
And I will say, you know, because T1 is such an early game team, and so early game dominant, if you get lead, it's very easy to be first to the objective and the opponents have to come to you.
True.
Right? So I think if you're depending on winning your lanes, well, T1's a pretty good team to be able to do that. And as far as the Akali pick, you know, in my eyes, there's just a lot of squishy members over on G2.
Sure.
Zoe, MF, as well as the Karma, all very squishy, and it is actually going to be Comet MF. So I was thinking they might go towards this. It's super lane focused. You start Comet, you start E. It is going to be Airy and Exhaust because there's an Akali. I think you just like have to.
I agree.
So you can't go Ignite. So it's not full offense, which would have been Comet on Karma as well, and Ignite. But this is a very strong 2v2. G2 should have a really good time in this 2v2, and we'll see if they can really make the most of that.
Yeah, and it's also fantastic because this is a game where G2, it's not just an even matchup in the mid lane, it's a very, very caps-sided matchup as far as the early stages of the game. So being able to play around that bottom side won't have Faker just looming ever present with that threat. It will be more Caps being able to make his way down. And he does have the Ignite there as well. Not going to exactly be able to teleport, but will have a lot more power on those roams as well. So Faker going to move back here towards the mid lane as we get this laning started. We'll see how T1 is going to go. One of the really cool things about this T1 comp, I want to say, I agree that it's not been their best so far in this best of 5. But if you get a Gnar into the wall and a perfect execution layered across, that is going to feel fantastic.
I mean, for sure. And I very much agree with Zale that when you're an Akali and you look at those champions across the board, you think,
I can kill them.
I can kill all of them. Yes, exactly. And all you need is one good flank, and we've seen how great T1 is at getting that vision control, setting up for these objectives. So, again, I'm always going to default to trust when it comes to Faker. I'm just excited to see how he actually makes this execution work. The flash comes in.
Handshake, yeah. Targamas already burning down. Does have the Blade Caller, does Gumayusi, but he's not going to be able to actually lock down any kills or anything like that, but certainly sending a message in the early game.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they get the push here early on, and they're just straight up hitting more of their skill shots, right? You know, Targamas hasn't been able to connect with as many of the Qs. They get the push here. Jankos, they're not going to expect this. A wraparound without even having his red buff here.
Absolutely no vision, but Kerry is going to spot him. Gumayusi now trying to walk this one out. The flash out of the Duskbringer. Okay. Gumayusi is going to now not have that escape option as this lane continues, so expect a little bit less aggression from T1 down here.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to have to at least have eyes on where the G2 members are, Jankos in particular here, because he could look for some sort of a repeat play, but you know, T1's bot lane getting very aggressive here, trying to play it in the face of their opponents. Really, you want to have the push when you're playing this type of a combo because Karma under her tower is so easy to actually deal with. But when you are getting pushed in, it becomes very difficult for the enemy AD to dodge your Qs because you know when they're going to step forward for the last hit. You throw the Mantra Q out. It becomes almost impossible, plus the slow there from MF. But if you are getting shoved in, it's just so much easier to kind of stand with the minions between you and the Karma. And Flakka and Targamas are going to struggle a lot more as a result.
I will say, though, that in terms of the early laning phase, you also have Exhaust Cleanse versus Heal Ignite. Yep. So this is probably one of the reasons why G2's bot lane is also quite hesitant to try and go for a hard contest, because they also know at level 2, as we already saw, the hard crowd control that Carrier can provide is something that can be problematic. So I understand why they're showcasing a little bit more respect, and I imagine that after their first reset, that's where we'll start to see a lot more of that poke and aggression come through.
Yeah, exactly right. But there is a slight pause, ladies and gentlemen. We are investigating. We don't have any information for you just yet. However,
Scare Prize!
Scare Prize, everyone! Don't forget to grab your exclusive Scare Prize Prime Gaming emote. It's free, it's cool, and you can strut your stuff while you flash in and turn a fight.
And you can do it right now.
You can.
Supports. You can just click that little button,
Precisely.
go claim.
That's the perfect timing for this, and that's why it's the first time that we've thrown it up, because everything's been so extraordinarily intense thus far in the series, and thankfully now we do have a little bit of breathing room as things going much better for G2 in this game. And I feel like we've been saying that over and over again as the series goes on.
It wasn't a high bar.
You're a minute in and you're like, I already like what I'm seeing.
No one's dead.
Nexus is alive. All right.
Yeah, I do agree that Game 2 is actually very close, and G2 was in a winnable position. It just came down to a single really well-played fight from T1 around the Baron that allowed them to swing in their favor. And ultimately, at this level of play, that is what can decide games, like a single fight, a single play. The consistencies I've seen so far in this series is, number one, T1's bot lane have been absolutely dominant. Just straight up in the 2v2. Though in game 1, we saw G2 attack that lane a lot, but even then, they were able to weather the storm a lot. I think Zeus has been in a lot of favorable matchups and has taken advantage of those favorable matchups very well. I think where we've seen most of the contest has actually been in this med matchup. And even though Caps hasn't been on the winning side, to his credit, he has been going toe-to-toe and has been playing very well in the likes of Faker's opposition, and he's been doing what he can with the tools that he does have. I think the only person that we haven't really seen that same level of impact from is Jankos, because typically when we think back to the playoffs run in the LEC, it was him making these early game plays happen. You talked about it, level 2 ganks, level 3 ganks. He was finding a lot of like kills, not
all the time
snowballing, but it was just the odd kill here or there that would give G2 that extra bit of agency to control their lane a little bit more, mitigate the enemy's ability to roam. And so far, we haven't really been able to see him find a lot of success in terms of those early plays. And I'm not going to sit there and say that's entirely his fault, because we have seen the bot lane struggling a little bit. Caps lost his flash at like level 1 last game, and so he hasn't really been set up for success either. But his ability to impact the early game has not been seen so far in this series.
Absolutely. Just a little bit of an update here. League officials are investigating. There's an issue with Gumayushi's peripherals. We will give you some more info as soon as we do have that, but hopefully
having a keyboard and mouse working is generally a good thing to have for League of Legends.
Unless you're on G2's side. Then you do not want Gumayushi to have this.
I was going to say, well, wait, they also need those things.
They just don't want Gumayushi to have
Yeah, they definitely don't. Not necessarily my favorite pause. Us in the LCK have had a few that have been absolutely fantastic.
Wait, they have just
what do you mean?
You've had enjoyable pauses?
Yes, we have. We had the crazy skin issue. Which is
sometimes it's a funny pause. That's actually true.
I'm with skin that didn't work very well, so we had to change the skin, and it came up crazy skin issue. It was absolutely fantastic. We had the very famous toilet issue as well. But this is peripheral issue.
Some of my favorite pauses in NA were actually back in the Spill Scarin days. Spence Scarin seemed to have a habit of always spilling water on the...
And then you introduced the sippy cups, right?
Yeah. So using sippy cups. And then I think one time the sippy cup even got spilled. And it's just like, it was always hilarious because it came this pattern. Whereas every time they were paused, you're like, was it a spill? And then the camera would zoom in on the player. They're looking all shamefaced, like, oh no. They see it. They're trying to dry the keyboard as fast as possible.
Man, that actually survived for such a long time. The spilling water meme. That was just that
Spill
took a long...
Scarin is a good one. It's a classic.
It's definitely very, very good. It is it's taking a little bit of a while just to make sure that we have Gumayushi with everything working absolutely perfectly. We heard some G2 chanting in a Busan crowd, which I think
Capstad, wasn't it?
That's more from Capstad, more impressive than a salmon swimming up a waterfall, I think, in my opinion, based on just how incredibly one-sided that crowd would be.
That, Korea does have a lot of G2 fans.
A lot, actually. As far as any other team, like any non-Korean team, I think G2 has the most fans.
But T1, though.
Korea.
Yeah, I mean...
But it's T1.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, even Europe has a lot of T1 fans.
Everywhere in the world has a lot of T1 fans. That's the thing.
Earth, I think, has a lot of T1 fans.
Generally, people enjoy watching them play League of Legends. And why would you not?
And that's why it's so exciting, right? Because this team has so much history. And of course, I don't want to take away from their accomplishments over the last 5 years. But again, they built their dynasty, by just dominating, right? By being unassailed, by winning multiple world championships, multiple MSIs here. And, they are now tied with RNG. Both have two. G2 obviously looking to match that mark. They have their one title here. But T1 would love to pull ahead and grab another international title for the first time in 5 years. It was back in 2017 MSI, the last time they actually won an international title, and it was against G2, who they were able to take down there. These two teams have just had so much history. It was coming into the series, it was 11-10 for T1 all time. Of course, the Caps record much more favorable for him. But now, you add a couple more wins for T1. They're trying to kind of forge forward with what is a brand new, T1, right? It is not the T1 of old. It was fun to go back and look at, last time they won, it was Huni in the top lane, right? Playing for T1. It was, Pina and Blank. It was Wolf and Bang down in the bot lane, right? Like, this is just such a different era that a lot of modern T1 fans probably never even watched, back then. Yeah. And this team just was so impossible to beat for so many years that it was like not just about them making it, it was just a foregone conclusion that they were going to win. You just couldn't do anything about it.
The inevitability of T1, then SKT, was something that I think so many of us that watched back then 100% remember. It's like they load onto the Rift and you're like, well, I'll go make a cup of tea.
And what I think is also crazy about T1 is how many stories they've kind of started for the teams, right? Like a lot of rivalries have been built up. But what I think
Dumbledore, for example.
Right. What I think is very unique about G2 is it feels as though, at least for many Western fans, and I can speak as a European fan, that like to have T1 consider G2 to be their rival internationally and someone that they want to beat is like, that's cool. Yeah,
that's actually a huge shout out. As just to let you guys know, we have sorted this one out. The issue is resolved, and so Gumushi is all sorted, mouse and keyboard all working, and we're just completing some checks to get into the game.
Awesome. And I mean, on the other side, it's interesting because, you talk about T1 and how it always felt so inevitable that they could win. And G2 was one of the teams that gave people hope. That it was like, hey, you actually can not only compete or have a good game against these dominant LCK teams, you can beat them. Yeah. You can take them down in best of series. And I think that is really what was so special about G2 coming onto the international scene and showing everyone that it could be done.
And I mean, if you want to like go back through the history books, back in 2017, it was also like Perks' redemption arc on G2, getting G2 solo vacation. Kills onto Vacaker. To Vacaker. Solo kills onto
That's
onto
one heck of a Freudian slip. I don't even know how you fell into that.
It was such a dramatic change for G2 back in 2017. Even though T1 did end up winning, it was kind of like the beginning of so much change in Europe. So a lot of history. And right now, T1 are on the precipice of finding themselves as the victor once again. Caps looking for a kill onto Faker. The bubble lands.
Bubble is going to go down. As let's see whether Faker finds the right spot. He doesn't. He's going to flash into the He flashes over the wall. Oh my god, that was...
he just broke his ankles.
Yeah.
Oh
and
my
now Caps he's stolen the flash, so he has it at the ready. Is now Faker. He can execute. And there is no way that it can be answered. That was so many...
That's the Reddit play. That's the Reddit play.
It's like the montage juke that you're like,
there's no way that would work.
I remember saying that like
work.
6 years ago or something. It was like, well, that looks cool from that guy that was playing in Reddit.
It's the thing in solo queue where you're literally just like, I can out-juke them by staying in specific spots because you expect them to flash in a certain direction, then you flash in another one, and then Faker just did it.
That's incredible. I mean, the way he even set it up is so smart. Like, he hugs the top wall, showing, hey, I'm flashing over here, and then you flash back towards the pixel brush. And it looks silly. Like, from if we saw this from Caps' point of view, you would fully understand, right? Caps going here, and he's hugging that wall. He's going to hit him here. He's looking for the ignite. So he knows he's against the wall. Exactly. And then he flashes. And from there, you're saying, of course he's flashing to his side. 100% he's flashing to his side.
And then he thinks that Faker's flashed and then E'd into the Baron pit. And you can't blame Caps for that. It's just, wow, great heads up from Faker, because he should have died 1v1.
That's a knockback here from Zeus. As both of, oh no, Broken Blade, not quite level 6 just yet. A little bit of an opportunity here, but Jankos understanding that there was some danger, so Zeus not going to be able to commit.
And while it does look, really, really kind of crazy, you see at the same time, Caps is way up in farm.
Yeah, I was going to say,
so,
like,
even though that was
looked really cool, it's still, like, not going very well.
Absolutely, and that's huge for Caps, right? So a big play from Faker, because when you're down a bunch of farm and then you get solo killed, the lane can absolutely just be over. So Faker, at the very least, able to avoid that. Does, of course, execute. But going to be back towards mid lane and trying to catch back up.
So I want to draw attention to what Faker is doing right now, because we talked about the fact that Caps doesn't have TP, and Faker recognizes that in order to back what running Ignite, you have to be very specific in your base timing. So Faker set up a bit of a slow push here so that he could freeze the wave underneath his tower. And now he's hit level 6.
Carrier coming over. Owner not going to find the Sonic Wave. Is now Caps. Perfect execution from Faker is not going to be enough to lock down that kill. The Ignite comes down. Handshake onto Targamas, who's going down very low, very squishy now on this Karma. No longer on the Brahmas. Flackett's moved on in as well. Feels like everyone's here. The heal comes out from Gumayusi. Flackett going to get slowed down for now. Not quite enough of the feathers, and Flackett's going to have to flash. Gets himself out to safety. Still 0-0 on the kill score.
Yeah, but thankfully for T1, it does go well for them, you know, forcing out some of these extra summoners here. The wave is slow pushing away from Caps, and he was not able to fix it. T1 had the extra member there, Carrier there first. So Jankos was coming to help him push it out, but then they see Owner there and then Carrier's there, so you can't actually reset it. Faker goes for this all in, and just bases with the wave pushing towards him, which is going to even up the farm a lot. If we can get eyes on mid lane, there's going to be way more minions for him to farm. So after this gets pushed in, if he can pick up a lot of it, it should be much closer than it was.
It's this is something that you will see in pro play, but never in solo queue, where a mid lane and hang on.
Yeah, ulti comes down towards the bottom side of the map. Gumayusi in trouble, and he is going to burn down. I don't think he's going to get enough to get the kill there on that one, and that is going to be the kill secured from G2. That is going to be first blood, and it is Jankos that helps secure it.
Nicely done by Jankos. A quick level 6 there. Does get the kills. And Owner with a rare misplay. Safeguarding away and then flashing back in.
Yeah, it kind of broke my brain a little bit, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was worried that Carrier was going to go down. Now they're looking for a play here. The slow lands.
Yeah, we'll see whether the handshake is going to come in. It does, as Owner is going to be able to secure it. So 1-1 now. Immediately going to be evened up as T1 do fake out the back.
It's a great punish on the missing flash that they forced out in the jungle earlier there on, but Owner making good on his earlier mistake, makes up for it. We can watch this one more time as Jankos quick 6, he's going to go in.
And this is some of the early game impact that we wanted to see from Jankos, able to instantly use his ultimate, recognizing that the bot lane of T1 is just far too overextended. Carrier does invest the flash. Jankos thinks he can get that kill, realizes the safeguard is there to keep Carrier alive, has to disengage. So then Owner realizes, hang on, I can actually kill Jankos, chooses to flash back in. And Flackhead, he wants to fix this wave. Unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the assistance needed. And I think it's debatable. Arguably, he should have just gone back here, but he believes the rest of T1 has reset, and he ends up getting punished for it.
Oh, Ornhorn comes down. Zeus going to flash to get himself out of the way. That is a great ulti from Carrier. A lot of damage now onto Targamas and to Caps as he's just keeping within melee ranges. Now Faker just gets the Q, doesn't pick the right spot to get the ulti over the wall, but the 5-point strike is going to be there. Targamas doesn't have his flash, exactly like you were saying. Carrier is going to lock down that kill, and T1 mop up a couple of extras in the river.
T1 are punishing these missing summoners so well, knowing they can continue chases because of those track summoners that are going to be up towards Herald. But Flackhead, at the very least, does get a play back on bot side, will deny some of these minions. Gumayusi, though, pushing in mid. T1 win the skirmish on top side. You can see they've littered that top side jungle with vision and will grab this. And when you have a losing lane and you lose Herald, it gets very difficult.
Oh, nah, there is going to be the knocker from Broken Blade. They're threatened, but Paranoia comes in. That is going to be immediately the kick out, as it's going to be Owner that locks down the Herald. But Jankos, can he get anything else done? The rest of the team are coming in. Caps just looking to lock down Carrier. Carrier is going to try and W himself, but it's not going to quite be enough as Broken Blade flashes over the wall. Jankos eventually does go down. Targum is also just going to be taken off the rift once again, as now Caps against the world. Zeus is trying to skip through everything, but it is not going to be him that takes the kill. It's in fact Owner that mops it up.
And T1 continue to take control over the early game. Look at how quickly the gold is ballooning in T1's favor as G2, they tried to contest the Herald. The thing is, they're strong when their ults are up, and they think, hey, maybe we can actually look to contest this. Maybe we have a smite advantage. He kicks him away from the fear as well. He's able to smite secure along with doing enough damage to secure the Herald, and then Carrier, while he does drop, look at how much he's invested. Broken Blade doesn't have the HP to fight this. Gumayusi is full HP. He's forced to disengage. Caps only level 7 to the level 9. Owner's gonna get, well, I don't think he does actually get level 8 here, but regardless, there's nothing that Caps can do. And G2, they thought they could force that play. They didn't have the help, and it feels like desperation is starting to come through for G2.
And I have to just give so much credit to the timing on that Lee Sin kick. He buffered it perfectly so that Nocturne would arrive and then is instantly kicked. And Flack, maybe seeing him him die again. Bot side, no flash.
Yeah, Faker. Perfect execution is going to be available, and he throws it out to tidy up the kill very comfortably. Faker in a side lane now. His comfort zone absolutely here on this Akali.
I mean, they're just on fire, and Owner is looking so good. Guma has flash, but will not use it.
Knockup comes in. That's a fantastic disengage ult from Carrier, though. Finds a handshake just to stun up the solo lanes of G2 here. The Q is going to connect. Caps flash over the wall. That is going to keep him alive here, but T1, it feels like they've just come alive in the last few minutes.
I just love how T1 is actually pushing the pace of this game. They know that Nocturne wants to fight only around ultimate, so Owner's saying, no, we're just going to fight constantly or I'm going to take your whole jungle.
Oh, that was so cute. The Bellows Breath is going to be out there, but nice no buffer. Kick does come through. Exhaust comes down as Owner's just going to move his way out, and he can just do everything with Reckless Abandon, and there's no punishment.
And I think that you highlighted it there, Azale. T1 are just playing around their window very well. I think that it all started with that initial skirmish where they got that pick onto Caps. The thing about Akali is with Sork boots and level 6, that's kind of where you're at a point where you can look to force these small skirmishes. And when you think about the matchup, sure, in lane, it's not great, but when you're able to pair up with your jungler and kind of go for these 2v2 situations, that is really where this Akali becomes very fluid and easy to execute in a composition like this. And we saw, even with the exhaust thrown down from Targamas, it didn't matter. He just sat in his shroud, he waited with his E, and then he's able to re-engage. So T1 picked the exact right window to force all of these skirmishes, and they've just been picking G2 apart, and then G2 tried to respond, and then T1 gets the better of them again, and there are just very open windows that T1 know they can force these plays, and they're able to balloon this gold lead out of control.
Yeah, and I mean, it's starting to feel like game one all over again. It's about 6.5K in the gold lead here, 13 minutes in for T1. Absolute domination here from the LCK #1 seed.
Yeah, 7,000 gold almost the lead is.
Yeah.
Much larger than what we saw. I was wondering which game one you were referring to, as Knockup does come down onto Gumayusi. Of course, their first of the tournament was a very large lead as well, which G2 were able to come out ahead of. And it was with things like the Ornn that now G2 have for themselves, as Caps was looking for Gumayusi. Good ignite to go down there, but doesn't find the paddle star. As Owner just going to wait until Targamas goes down, but it's not going to be enough. He does eventually get back in there. Q going to land as well, and now Zoe feeling like a sitting duck right now. Has to go back to that portal jump. Wishes he didn't, as now Blackett going to get dove on once again. Faker's got the second activation, but it's not going to quite be enough damage, as he didn't want to get underneath that turret. Oh, not quite enough, as the bullet time is just going to push Faker away.
Everything just coming up T1. 8,000 gold lead. Make it even more. We'll see if they can get Faker.
Yeah, flashes to get himself out of the way of the ram, and I think he's still got a backflip or two available to him, so he'll be absolutely fine.
You can just feel the momentum slipping away from G2. There are so many things that are happening across the map where it's just not typical G2, right? Individually, they're making small misplays. Like, you can see Flackett had his ultimate while Faker was underneath his tower, and then he holds on to it. He waits to see how close Faker is, and then he throws it out and is not able to get this kill. Targamas, they don't have any control on this side of the map. He's trying to drop vision when his top lane is backing, and he ends up getting punished for it. And it's just T1 is riding the control. Look, they're pushing all 3 lanes on the map right now, and they are just not slowing down. They realize the position that they're in, and they're not giving G2 a second to breathe.
Well, Paranoia just to get over the wall.
Nice
big knob, but it's a great spell shield from Jankos, exactly as you say. Targamas now comes in, has the exhaust, is now Flackett's here as well. 4 versus 1 as Zeus does now have it, and he keeps himself alive. Thanks, Carrier, for that one. And Carrier even grabs himself the kill as well. Zeus now with a grump. It's just going to eat that one up and be a little bit more healthy. Gumayusi now looks for it. Mini stun into the wall. Targamas is taken down. Gumayusi tidies up that kill also, and G2, oh man, I mean, 4 versus 1, and still Carrier gets there in time.
It's just bullying at this point, isn't it? They can't even get the 1 kill. Carrier arriving in time for the bailout. Cap's going to look here now, but Owner can easily block. Yeah. And it's just been the Owner show. 10 out of 11 KPs running everywhere.
Gumayusi is going to get taken down here, most likely. I mean, I've said that a few times. He does have flash, and so he is just going to try and create that distance. There's the hostile takeover from Carrier. He now wraps himself around. Caps is still looking to try and get that lockdown. A massive Gnar into the wall. That's going to be Faker locking down the kill as everyone's turned up. Gumayusi's going to kill Caps. And gentlemen, I don't think that G2 have anything left in the tank for this game. T1 are just styling happening right now.
You can see the collapse happening for G2, and T1 is taking advantage of it. Pick after pick, play after play, T1 refuses to slow down with their aggression. They are constantly going for skirmishes. They are consistently outplaying G2, and they are looking to secure their revenge and make their way back to an MSI final.
Just looking incredible here. 13,000 gold lead, almost 1,000 per minute of League of Legends that we have played. They are getting ahead. They are running everywhere, just absolutely styling on G2, getting kills at will.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about before, but this time it's the Owner show. Like 5-0-9 on the Lee Sin. He is 1 kill away from 100% kill contribution on this Lee Sin, and it feels like he's the carry this time around. Yes, Faker in side lanes has been fantastic, but this Lee Sin just everywhere so far, making everything happen, and this is what we saw from Owner in the LCK final for Spring. This is why he was the finals MVP, and his Lee Sin is still just incredible here in this semi-final.
I mean, he has been amazing, and we've gotten to see many times over why Keria was the Spring MVP as well.
That's enough, and Zeus is just going to pop the Zoe. We'll see whether Jankos can answer this one as, yep, everyone's coming down to try and take him out this time, but the Ram's going to be there. That's two versus... It's 5 people down here. The rest of T1 are launching themselves towards these inhibitor turrets. Zeus takes 2 with him.
And they can push for the win potentially here. We'll see how far they want to go. At the very least, they will get this 1 inhibitor. They have Shelly. Will they play it safe? Will they play it controlled? It's 17-3. They're 14,000 gold ahead.
Yeah, bullet time going to be used just to tidy up the minion wave. They do manage to take down Shelly there with that one as well. Sorry, Shirley, I correct myself, as T1 will grab this inhibitor turret as well. G2 now just trying to protect it, and they will be able to do so. G2, just a slight amount of breathing room now.
It was G2 that held the record for the fastest best-of-5 internationally ever, and T1 is now on the verge of getting a sub-20-minute win against G2, who held that record. An incredibly dominant performance from T1, and it felt like that coming into this game, G2 had a plan. They were able to get a few comfort picks, but play after play, pick after pick, T1 have just been outperforming, and we see Zeus doing this once again. We've been seeing it all year long, the promise, the potential of this young player, but he basically isolates into 2 1v1s. He's able to secure 1 kill, he secures a second, and while he loses his life, the benefits for T1 are more than worth it.
I mean, it's just heartbreaking to lose out in those types of situations. He had the early 2 items, now even building towards potentially a wit's end third, just going full all in for the damage. They know they are so far ahead here. You know, Faker working towards his second item. We already have 2 through for Gumayushi, 2.5 for Zeus, 2 for Owner. You look on the other side, you know, it's 1 only, and sometimes not even 1 in the case of Broken Blade. They're just so far behind. It's almost unthinkable to try to conceive of how they could come back.
Yeah, it's a very, very difficult prospect. As Broken Blade thinking about this one, Gumayushi getting taken down below half right now. It's G2 just desperate to try and protect this. Faker in the mid lane, getting that split push happening. Of course, there will be super creeps there to knock down that door, but not going to find the Q just yet. G2 holding on for the moment. Their wave clear is pretty good. And of course, it's not like the Baron hasn't spawned. Still got 10 seconds. That's a flash in for the hostile takeover. The kick comes forward onto Caps, but they are trying to get themselves back. The Nara into the wall from Zeus. He throws the boulder through, and all 4 just get wiped from the rift. Flacked just left walking back to the fountain. The teleport to the mid lane, and in 20 minutes, T1 are looking to end this game.
T1 wipe G2 off the map, and Flackett is left alive to watch as his base crumbles. T1 3-0 will look to claim their revenge against G2.
And an incredibly swift best of 5 as well, as now Flackett's going to be taken down. Both of these Nexus turrets go down, and T1, much like RNG did in their semi-final, will get a 3-0 over the Western team. A few extra kills at the end, but there it is. T1 looking to try and claim their 3rd MSI title and deny